Our youngest son was born in Sri Lanka. Being the fourth, we thought his slow development would sort of sort itself out at the time. We came back home, he went to nursery school. Somebody said, he's not developing normally, you ought to get some investigation into it, which we did, and they came back and said he had Fragile X. The genetic counsellor didn't really seem to know much about it, which didn't help much. But we were fortunately referred to somebody who was trying to set up a support group. And out of that has grown a national support group now, which is very, very effective, and a lifeline, to be quite honest, to many people. Those support groups are really vital, I would say, in helping you to get to grips with what's needed for your child. Anyway, Matthew went on to MLD school. Fragile X can manifest itself either from a slight difficulty with maths right through to severe learning difficulties. Matthew was in the middle. He was bottom end of MLD, but it was a really good school and everybody helped him along, and he did really well. He came out with certificates. But when he got to 15, people were beginning to say, well, he's going to have difficulty with what follows on in an MLD assessment. It may not be suitable for him. So he's reassessed as SLD, and at that point we moved down to Kent, and he went to a place called the Norrington Centre, which was part of Foxwood, I think, at that time. I don't think it exists anymore. But it was for the more able, and it was... he went there for 2 years, and for the first time in his life, he was one of the most able among the group, in which previously he'd always been the least able. It was quite good for him, his confidence. He then went on to Thanet College, which was brilliant. He was ending up doing a couple of days a week at Thanet College, from what I remember, and we wanted more for him to do. So he did 2 years there, and then we came across some people who said they were setting something up, and so we got in touch with them and said, yeah, we're starting in Canterbury. And he started coming one day a week to what's something called Looking Ahead. And it was a couple of people who'd worked in disabilities, and they wanted to set up something that was daycare, but based on real businesses. So then they opened a cafe in St. Margaret's. So Matthew went there, and actually he's been involved with Looking Ahead for the last 12 years. It's still a lifeline to him. They now have sort of focused on Margate. They've got a gallery and studio and cafe. Matthew works in the cafe. I've been there a few days a week last week because we were installing a jukebox. But I realised that quite a number of the people I saw there were people I met when Matthew first started 12 years ago. It has been a real lifeline for him. As he was growing up, he saw his siblings leave home. And when he got to sort of 16, 18, he wanted to do the same. And actually he moved out and lived with another family for some years. It started off well, and then it got difficult, and eventually came home again. We were trying to work out what would be the right sort of arrangement for him. And we were looking at supported living, and the more we thought about it, the more we thought, well, he could quite easily become quite isolated. He could just disappear into his room. We could imagine him sitting there watching television, playing on his computer, and not relating to other people. We'd been to Lush, we'd looked at one of their community homes, and we thought, well, this isn't quite it, but we felt it would be better for him to be in a community environment. He's on the autistic spectrum, but actually he's quite sociable, really, but he has difficulty with crowds and sensory overload. Anyway, we went back, and they said, well, we just happen to be setting up a supported living house. It's a new project for us. He might be considered for it. He was, and he moved in. 3 of them share this house. They each have their own rooms. They've got en suite. Each evening, one of them cooks a meal under supervision. They have somebody who stays overnight, and they get support early in the mornings and the evenings for the meals. It's Matthew's home. It's been his home, and from the minute he moved in. And it's been an incredible blessing for us. And he is part of the community. It's just an amazing setup. And that's my story. That's his story.